afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Audrie Ford, coming to you live from Mars Hill News. Today, we're focusing on something that a lot of people can reflect on this year. With February coming, and actually starting today in the United States, a lot of people have a bitter taste in their mouth still left from 2013. And the same can absolutely be said for religious groups around the world. The World Watch List stated that pressure on Christians grew in 2013 more than in years past. Open Doors International, working with the World Watch List, which is a charity that provides support to Christians that are harassed, jailed, or attacked, particularly in Africa, the Middle East, and the Persian Gulf, stated that 2013 was a difficult year for Christians. They explained that some countries scaled on the list in record numbers. The list ranks countries based on how they respect Christians in terms of religious freedom and making sure they get all the legal rights necessary to practice their faith freely inside of their country of origin. And the list explained 2013 was a rough year, and the organization had to dedicate a lot of funding to making sure Christians got all the relief efforts they need. And speaking of relief efforts and charity work, our sponsor today comes from Magic Insoles, which stated that if you purchase the insoles, which their slogan states, are able to be entered into any type of shoe you'd like to wear and fit perfectly to your feet so that, and I quote, no matter what calluses, bunions, or blisters you have, your shoes will fit perfect and you'll be able to get through the day. For each insole purchased in the United States, one will be sent to missionaries worldwide, such as in Nigeria, where 14,000 Christians from 46 villages in the Gwoza community were displaced by militants this year. All money raised will also be dedicated towards helping displaced Christians in Nigeria and a church in Kenya whose facilities were burned on Christmas Day by Al-Shabaab militants. So, that's what you can do to help Christians after having such a bitter year in 2013. Now, back to our top stories. No country moved higher on the list than Colombia, which jumped from 46th place to 25th on the list in terms of how abusive it is towards Christians in just 2 years. They explained that this jump is a record breaker and not in a good way. 4 months ago, as I'm sure you remember from the top story that our station covered, the National Liberation Army of Guerrillas killed Alicia Katilla, who was a missionary widow after her husband, a lay minister, had been killed by the same group. Her eldest son, an 18-year-old named Herman, had this statement about the attack. My mother was killed in front of me and my 2 siblings, and we were told if we didn't leave the country in 3 days, the militants would come back and pick each one of us off, one by one, until we were gone. But we're not going to leave. My parents had work to be done in Colombia, and we're not going to abandon that. Christians had a difficult year, and Colombia is pretty much the poster child for the situation that was experienced and that we hope doesn't carry over into 2014. But things weren't any better over in the islands. The island of Laos reported that a witch doctor stated those Christians have to renounce their faith, otherwise more people will die. This story is relating to 3 men that died in this small village in Laos, all of completely unrelated causes, either by being prescribed the wrong medication, experiencing electric shock from mishandling technology, or by simply getting run over by his own farm cart. Christians in Laos, however, are being wrongly accused for these 3 deaths, and the families in this village had to pay for the funerals of the 3 men because the blame is being placed on them. And they also had to pay for authorities to visit the sites of each death so that investigations could be continued. The World Watch List would like to remind First World Christians, those in westernized nations, not to forget their brothers and sisters overseas, and to remember that even if you had a good year in 2013 and 2014 looks like it's kicking off well, you need to keep those overseas in mind. But luckily, not everything was bittersweet in 2013. There was some good news. Jews for Jesus reported that Barry Barnett, a British citizen, was released on bail after 4 days and 4 nights in Israeli prison just because he was holding up a sign. This reminds everyone that while there was tough times, there were also victories. I'm Audrie Ford, coming to you live, discussing what went on in 2013 that was both bitter and sweet. Thank you so much for your time, and this is signing off. Thank you.